right, welcome to the first post-draft episode of the Tucked In Wizards podcast. There's a new French era dawning in DC, and here to usher you into it are your two favorite Wizards-themed podcast hosts, Ben and Aidan. Ben, why don't you lead us into what we're going to be talking about today?
Yeah, the two favorite, well. First of all, I am a little sick, so if I sound weird, that's what it is. Second, congrats to the Boston Celtics. One of the most dominant runs we've seen since last year. And my boy Jaylen Brown got Finals MVP, so I'm happy for him, happy for the whole team. KP, Horford, all those guys. We'll see if they can repeat it next year. But we're here to talk about the draft because the Wizards are on the come up. And they got 3 picks that we are personally very excited about. We can also talk about the Denny trade a little bit because when that trade first went down, I was definitely sad that they got rid of Denny. I put him as my MVP of last year, but the more I looked into it, the more I was like, look, we're trading Denny pretty much at peak value. We got more for Denny than the Hawks did for DeJounte Murray. So, yeah, in terms of draft capital. Obviously, they got Dyson Daniels, so a little different, but we basically got more, if not the same. And DeJounte Murray's a better player than Denny. And that's crazy.
Yeah, I think, in my eyes, we honestly got more, because Dyson Daniels is, of course, a very nice young player, but we got more draft capital. And then if you look at Brogdon, I'm not really anticipating him ever being in a Wizards jersey. So we'll flip him for maybe 3 seconds or something, but that's fine. I'll take as many draft picks as we can, get as many swings.
Yeah, I remember at the end of the Beal era and Brogdon, before they signed Dinwiddie, Brogdon was a real threat to come to DC to be the point guard. And now they got him, so a little bit too late, but
we got our guy.
We got our guy. But the main story though is the draft, because we got what we both think is the best prospect in this draft. Again, a weaker class, but we think is the best prospect. And then we got a couple other guys. So do you want to just talk about the Wizards picks first? Do you want to go into who else we liked, or what's the move?
I think we can start with our top picks of the draft. Both me and Ben were thinking about who we really like.
Should we do that at the end, actually?
Team. Yeah, we can do that.
Let's talk about the Wizards, guys.
I think it's either at the beginning or the end, so I'd be down to do it that way. I think we just got to start off talking about our number 2 pick, Alex Sarr, coming in.
Yeah. Do you want me to read the scouting report, or do you have it?
Why don't you go ahead and read it? I don't have one up because I have enough to talk about it.
All right. I'll send it over to you after I read this official scouting report. This is by Kevin O'Connor. I know, Aidan, you don't love him as much, but I really like his scouting reports. So I'll just read it straight off the page. Skyscraping wing trapped in the center's body. Rare blend of size, finesse, explosiveness. Pluses, athletic finisher. Fluid handles at 7'1". Skilled passer. Basically can switch onto anyone. And high level of effort and hustle. Minuses, he shoots a lot of jumpers and doesn't make a lot of them. Can't really finish with his left hand. And he needs to progress as a decision maker. Again, he is only 19. So I feel like those things will come.
Yes. Yeah, and it makes sense. Of course, he's going to settle for weird jumpers and stuff. He's very raw offensively. But to me, the biggest thing is, the one thing that Dawkins has just been really, really, really emphasizing this whole time with Sarr is just the professionalism. He's been in an adult league for a long time, and he's been around, teams that might necessarily not be the level of talent that he wanted to be on, And he always put in the work. He always put the right face forward. It seems like he, understands that defense needs to be his starting point, and then where he builds the rest of his game out from. And honestly, with this new team in DC, I think they can guide him down the right path to really start blossoming offensively. We just saw it last year. Bilal was heralded as a super raw guy who could no offense at all. People were like, oh, he's going to spend the year in the G League, and he immediately came out and was shooting 40% for the first little bit of the season. I'm not gonna. That's not to say Sarr is gonna be amazing offensively instantly, but to me, that's not really what he needs to do for us. It's fine if the first year he's pretty limited offensively, takes some weird jumpers, and understands what his good shots are, while he also is providing this amazing interior defense and perimeter defense that he's come to be known for.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest, especially with centers, my biggest pet peeve when watching these centers sometimes is that they'll catch the ball at the top of the key and not even look at the rim at all. and it's like
Yeah.
there's no threat there. Like Sarr, like I'd rather Sarr at least be attempting these shots because you never know. Like every now and then he might get hot, and then the defense is like, okay, we actually have to close out on him, and then that opens up like a bunch of other games, or opens up the game for a bunch of other players. So I'm fine with someone who may not be good as a shooter taking them, as long as we're not getting to a Sarr Thompson levels of like shooting 10% from three. But what is it, like 29% or something like that? I feel like he can fix that if he continues to take those shots.
Yeah, I think it depends really on how we play him. I know he doesn't want to be a center, but I feel like he's going to get played at center at some point.
Unless they make a Mitchell Robinson trade.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate that. But if he's playing the 4, it's like, I guess no matter what, if he's playing the 4 or 5, I'd rather him take the shots than not take the shots. You know, it's like kind of the opposite Ben Simmons situation. Like, you do not want to end up with a guy that doesn't take those shots. You know?
Yeah.
I'd rather have someone that's like taking some inefficient shots and missing a lot or whatever than not. Because like in the end, practice is how you figure things out. And if you're shooting all these shots, it's not really going in. And then you start noticing, oh, when I'm shooting in this part of the floor, it's going in more than this part of the floor. You can really start understanding how to open up your game. And I feel like with our revamped kind of development staff, it seems like they've done a really good job of guiding players into shots that is more natural for them. Like that's something I saw from Denny last year. It was a big leap for him. Was like he stopped taking like some weird like moving threes or catch shoot threes or whatever. Like he never really seemed like he knew how to fit in offensively, and then he started going to the rim. You know, if he's shooting mid ranges, it's within like 15 feet. And I think these are all things that the coaching staff can help guide Sarr into, where it's like, hey, you know, for guys usually your size and with your level of comfort on the ball, like these spots tend to be the most efficient. And it's like, why not just go try a game, shoot from these spots, and see how it feels?
Yeah, and the thing with Denny too that Sarr can take is when Denny started attacking the rim more and being able to beat defenders off the dribble, it opened up his 3-point game so much more because now you can't just like... Same with Kispert. It's the same thing we're seeing with Kispert, where
Kispert too.
You could take someone off the dribble. Now you can't super close out like you could before because he'll just beat you off. So it opens up a little bit more.
Yeah. And going a little forwards with that, just quick mention, I think Kispert will be really good for that with both Kyshawn George and
if he's
Bub.
still on the team by the time the season
If he's
starts.
still on the team, yeah, when they're around. More Kyshawn George than Bub, because I know Kyshawn George shot like a really good percentage from 3, but he kind of had trouble getting the rim. So did Bub, but his thing was more mid-ranges rather than threes. So it'd be interesting to see if Kispert can offer some advice for all of them, honestly, there, with just cutting to the rim and that opening up the rest of your game.
Yeah. The biggest thing, though, that I think we're both excited about Sarr is the defense, the shot blocking, the switchability, the how he can get steals. He only averaged 5 rebounds in the NBL, but hopefully that can go up. I know we still have Kuz, who does a lot of the rebounding duties. With Denny gone, it'll be a little bit of an issue. I know Marvin Bagley can kind of go out there and get you rebounds. But I do hope that his rebounding numbers go up because he's 6'11" and almost 7 foot tall. But he's 6'11.8 according to this. So, I mean, if you're almost 7 feet, you should be able to rebound more than 5 times a game, but we'll see.
I mean, my thing with prospects is always like, I'm never that worried about rebounds and assists because it's like rebounds and rebounding itself is like it's an art, but it's something that's like, you know, not the hardest thing in the world to teach. You just get a big man coach in there for a few days and like really emphasize offensive rebounds. And
like, different ways.
Teach him how to box out properly and stuff. And it's like maybe he just was never taught those fundamentals. That's why he's bad at it. And like assists, like, you know, sometimes your teammates just can't make shots and your assists aren't going to be higher.
Yeah.
So I think those are those are less worrying than points to me, and both of those things can easily be cleaned up once you get into the league and like you have. Because to me, it's like you're surrounded by all these amazing coaches that are like, hey, here's this knowledge that has been commonplace for a while. And a lot of rebounding is really just like knowing how to box out and just giving the effort to like really fight for the offensive rebounds. And I mean, Sarr seems like he's pretty open to being coached, and should know like, hey, I'm the biggest guy on the team. I need to get these rebounds. Like it's me.
Yeah. So
and if he's not good at it the first year, it's okay.
Yeah. Again, first year is going to be such a learning year for all these guys. So we're already at 10 minutes, and I did want this to be a little shorter. So do you want to go over to Bub Carrington, who's the next pick? I also want to talk a little bit about the international explosion that we've been seeing in the NBA, and not that America's fallen behind, because they're not, but how shit the AAU circuit is in terms of development, because it's all about money. And it's not actually about developing these players. And we're seeing a lot of dudes like get injured because they're playing like 6 games back to back to back, or they'll play 3 games one day and then 3 games the next day. It's like that's too much wear and tear on a body. Yeah, we're talking about basketball.
I mean, to me, like the Europe shift is really like it's I think more about perception than anything. Because there's always been really good European players, but even in 2018 when Luka came in, he fell to 3 because they were like, "Oh, he's a European player. Can he translate his game?"
Extremely
dumb. That is gone now. So stupid. And I think it's kind of shifted more.
Luka probably did change that.
I think Luka changed that a lot, and like people like Gobert coming up and like Jokic. But now I think it's shifted a bit too much, where people are like, "Oh, well, if you're coming out of Europe, you're automatically better at this, this, and that." And it's like, well, maybe.
Yeah. It all depends on the...
Because it's like, there's no way all 5 French or 6 French guys drafted this draft are all going to be amazing, you know? It's like...
Yeah, what's that guy's name? Can't pronounce it. The guy who went to the Hornets. Tijani.
Oh.
Tijani Salon. Yeah, I mean, he's like literally a high-risk guy. So
I really like him.
So we'll see.
I think
the Hornets can develop.
And like... Recess Shea should have a low or high floor, but like maybe he doesn't, and his 3-and-D just never translates to the NBA. That happens sometimes.
Yeah, that's why high floor is always so funny to me, because like none of these guys really have a high floor, because it's just like everyone has bust potential. I guess the only person with a high floor is like Wemby, someone who like thinks he's going to be a star.
People who are going to be good. And it's like, I mean, it is true with like some older European guys and like 4-year college guys. Like Christian Brown was pretty good when he got drafted because he was like a 4-year college guy. And like I think the guy the Celtics got is gonna be pretty good.
Yeah, Baylor Shire
shooter.
He's one of my.
I don't think he'll play much, but I think he's better than like Jordan Walsh, who they got last year.
Yeah, well, Jordan Walsh isn't gonna play at all.
No.
Let's go to Bub. Freshman out of Pitt, averaged 14 points. He had a triple-double in his debut. According to Kevin O'Connor, again, bucket-getting guard with size who can catch fire on any night, plus his filthy mid-range scorer who has a good handle. He could be a shot creator, and he could be a playmaker. Those are kind of what you're looking for out of an offensive player. Some of the minuses, though, are a little bit concerning, even being a fan of his game, which is he is heavily reliant on jumpers, and he's not extremely athletic. He is bigger, so that helps. It's not going to be a Johnny Davis situation, hopefully. And he has struggled to shoot threes off the catch. And he needs to just bulk up, which again, he's 18. That'll come eventually. So that's less of a minus and more of just like a thing that he needs to do. But the struggling shooting threes off the catch and the idea that he can't really put pressure on the rim is a little bit concerning. But again, he is 18, so hopefully those things can improve. I like the pluses.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen about him, like everyone's kind of low in his 3-point shooting, but it was like 32%. It's not it's not that bad. Like they can get that up, and he was on 6 attempts per game, so he's not scared to shoot it. But the things I've seen is like once he makes one, he gets a little too in his like
cocky. Bag.
Not really cocky, yeah.
In his bag,
like, he starts launching more like Jordan Poole style, like, oh, I made one, so it's a heat
up. Oh yeah,
like,
Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole's gonna real help. I'm gonna miss. Or I can't wait to see those Jordan Poole like shots from like 6-7 feet behind the line because he made one shot. We saw that a few times.
Like, he can make those.
He can, but it's like, why? You're not hot yet, bro.
No, yeah. But like that kind of stuff. I mean, he should clean up once you get in the NBA, but again, Poole hasn't. And he struggles to get to the rim, which to me is pretty concerning for a point guard. But like he's big, he has a really nice wingspan.
It says in part due to the lack of strength.
The big thing with all 3 of these prospects to me is just like their upside is very high. Like when we drafted Kispert, I was like, okay, I know
Bub's,
what this guy's gonna be,
Bub's
and that's who he is.
Yeah,
but like, who knows what Bub's gonna be?
Yeah,
he's an amazing passer. He's he can't be like a primary playmaker right now, but as coming off the bench, he should be fine as a playmaker. He is like kind of like not nearly as good, but a Jokic-esque feel for where his teammates are without needing to like pay attention to them all the time, which is nice. And I mean, his mid-range is money.
Yeah.
So, like, if he can really use that to open up the rest of his game, I think he has a lot of potential. And they are high risk as well, but it's like, if you're sometimes you need to do that. You don't want to end up like the Pistons where you have a bunch of like okay young guys, but none of them are that good.
Yeah, or the Rockets. I'm putting the Rockets in that category outside of so good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Jalen Green's just inconsistent. I think he'll put it together eventually, but right now he's
I think so too.
I don't know why they're trying to like go after a big star right now. It just seems like in the West, the West is so good. I don't know.
Jabari seems good too. He's just I
like him.
A little inconsistent offensively, but his defense is there.
Yeah, I like Jabari a lot. Kyshawn George is the last guy they picked. They didn't have any seconds, so they didn't go there. 6'7" wing.
I think.
No, go for it before I read
this
scouting report.
I'm pretty sure we traded our second to get Kyshawn George.
I think so. Yeah.
We traded up with the 26 and like
we traded with the Knicks.
50. We had like a 50 from somebody because we didn't have our own, but we had like Phoenixes or some shit this year.
Yeah, I'm fine with trading any picks in the 50s. I mean, those rarely work out.
Yeah, and it's like honestly, even 30s, it's like I'll give up 2 worse players to just get the guy that our front office is prioritizing.
Yeah, exactly. Because these front office seems like they've been scouting these guys for multiple years.
Yeah, I listened to the Dawkins presser, just a little aside, and he was like, one of the things he really emphasized was he was like, last year we had 2 weeks to do this, where this year it was a year-long process where scouts were doing a lot of work, and he said in like November he went to go watch Kyshawn George in person. So like these are the guys that they've been really, really building towards all year, which is good to see instead of oh shit, it's April, time to scout some guys.
Yeah, it's crazy how they had 2 weeks to do their scouting, like on the Wizards, and they still got like a second-round pick who looks like he could be productive when the last front office couldn't get a single second-round pick be productive.
Yeah.
And I'm not even a Tommy hater. It's just they couldn't do it.
No, I liked Tommy. I am an Ernie hater, but I don't think we've ever had a good second-round pick.
Yeah, like Jordan Clarkson,
sure, like
who wasn't even on the team when he did well. Kyshawn George, scouting report. Good shooter from NBA range, shot 40%, creative playmaker, and puts an effort on defense. Basically a prototype 3-and-D potential guy. Minuses, he lacks an explosive first step, kind of we know. Gets little elevation at the rim, needs to get much stronger on defense, and he is fairly unproven, as he did not play a lot at Miami. So, just a marking of a good pick at 24 was a 3-and-D upside. Mm-hmm. That's fine. Not every pick is going to be a superstar, and that's okay.
Yeah, but it's like, he's also a very high ceiling player because of his physical tools. Like, we were talking about Jaylen Brown before we were starting, where, like, obviously it's not going to be Jaylen Brown. But he's his size, and it's like he can do a lot of the same things Jaylen Brown can do, theoretically.
I guess theoretically. But I'm fine with Kyshawn George just maxing out as a good 3-and-D role player. That's fine with me.
Yeah, that would be fine, for sure. And I think it would take some time for him even to get to there. But if he can get there, he's a pretty tall guy for a guy like that, so that would be great.
Yeah, this scouting report says shades of Joe Ingles. I'm also going to throw in Cam Johnson.
No. Never trust Kevin O'Connor's player comps. His player comps are fucking terrible.
Kevin O'Connor, hater. No, I just wanted to throw in my shades of Cam Johnson.
Yeah, no, I think Cam Johnson's a good comp. To me, it's like, I know he didn't play much for it was Miami.
Miami,
right? Yeah. But his averages weren't great, like 7.5, 3 and 2, which like isn't amazing. But he started over half of the games that he played, so it's like something had to be there for his coach to want to start him in those games.
It was a defensive effort.
Yeah, exactly. So if he can put that in and at least make it so he's playable, it's fine if he misses a few open catch and shoot threes and like needs some time to get that together because he's giving you some production on the other side of the floor and isn't just a turnstile, which is the type of players we've drafted for a while. It just feels
in this
nice
front
to have
office.
all three players have the physical tools to actually defend at the modern NBA level.
Yeah,
Instead of,
all
like,
good picks.
You know, Rui had the tools to maybe, but like Kispert's not a good defender. Johnny Davis was supposed to be.
Johnny Davis was a good defender in theory.
Amazing. Yeah,
That theory
he's
just
kinda small.
didn't come to fruition.
No, and it's like I'd much rather have a 6'4" point guard.
That's why I'm
6'8"
scared of
wing,
Devin Carter,
7'1" center than like, you know, anyone under 6'4". Like, I'm glad to have a front office that seems to understand how to win.
Yeah.
This is what you need to do. These types of players help you win in the NBA.
It's getting hype in DC, so it's exciting. Do you want to end? I know we're only at 20 minutes, but do you want to end with who we think winners? I'm not going to say losers because we don't know any losers in the draft until the players actually go on the court.
Yeah, but I've got a couple I'm kind of excited for. So I've got like
non-Wizards related because I think we're both in agreement that the Wizards are big winners in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the Wizards came out the best in the draft. I know I'm a Wizards fan, but like, just looking at what we needed, there are a few others that I think came out pretty well. But it's like we just took some big swings on some players that have a lot of intriguing potential, and got like the best player in the draft. So I'm happy with it. Do you want to go first, or should I?
Sure, I'll go first. I'll do a couple of my guys. Number one, Ron Holland to the Pistons. I know everyone's memeing on the Pistons because they drafted another dude that can't shoot, but I think Ron Holland has more potential than a Sarr Thompson, personally. I know there's been Jaylen Brown comparisons, and while he might not ever get there, I really, really like his game. So I'm fine with the Pistons going BPA at 5. Again, we're surrounding Cade with a bunch of non-shooters, but hopefully they can figure something out. As I just got a notification that Royce O'Neal re-signed with the Suns for 4-year, $44 million, and that will
not very surprising.
Go into my next player who I really like, and that's Ryan Dunn, who was picked at 28 to Phoenix. This is like the perfect Phoenix pick, I think, because he has literally zero offensive game. He can't shoot, he can't drive, but he is the best perimeter defender in the draft class, and the Suns do not need someone who could shoot. Just put him in the dunker spot, and then have Beal, Booker, or KD ISO, and they can find him in a dunker spot, and then he could just do what he's good at, and that's defense. So I think the Suns really, really hit with this pick, and we'll see it play in fruition, but I think Ryan Dunn is like the perfect addition to them, and I think this is the best spot for him to go as well, playing with all these ISO guys.
I like that pick a lot, too. It's funny because, like, it is worst case scenario if he like touches the ball at all.
yeah.
So it's like, and they don't give a shit about spacing because it's not like.
Yeah, they're just gonna have KD, Beal, or Booker ISO someone and probably score.
Yeah.
They just
and then
need a
defense. They can
defense.
pass to him if they double, and he can dunk it.
Yeah,
like something like that.
Just you don't want him touching it on the perimeter.
Yeah.
And then I have two more. Yeah, two more. Well, kind of three, but the third one is just kind of the team. Two more. Dalton Connect on the Lakers, I think, is really good.
Yeah,
I'm surprised he slid that far.
Well.
But it's good for the Lakers. Good to get a shooter surrounding LeBron and AD, as always. And then I really like Tristan De Silva's fit on the Magic as well. I like that they got a big wing finally, as they are pretty stacked with guards. So we'll see what he can do in Orlando. And hopefully he could hit some threes at a higher rate than the Magic are used to last year.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing I don't like about the Connect pick is that he's a Laker, so I'm going to have to hear that he's going to be a future All-Star for the next fucking year.
Yeah.
Or 4 years. But I'll go ahead and go through mine. My first one that I really, really liked was, funnily enough, a lot of people are down in this one, but I really liked the Zach Edey, my Memphis Grizzlies.
Oh, yeah, I actually like that too. I think that was one of the best spots for him.
They obviously would have loved having Klingon. I think Klingon would have been better for them. But Zach Edey is like, I think it's a perfectly fine pick for them. I was a little turned off by the way that people weren't scared of him on the inside against UConn. But with Jaren Jackson Jr., that should, cover that part of his game up. And, like, he kind of needs the ball spoon-fed to him in offense in, like, the perfect spot to score, which is, like, you got John Morant, so he's going to do it for you.
It's such a good fit for him.
This worries me is spacing. To me, it gets a little worrying because John Morant's main thing is driving to the rim and, dunking over people. And now with Jaren Jackson Jr. and Zach Edey, two guys who are kind of going to be hanging out on the inside, it kind of limits his ability to do that, I think.
Yeah,
But
I know
think,
Jaren can
like,
shoot a little
they
bit,
need a
but
player like this.
yeah, no, this is their Steven Adams replacement because Steven Adams was so good for them. Except Zach Edey, I feel like has a better touch than Steven Adams does. I mean, he scored 25 points in college. That's not like I get it, but that's not something to like scoff at. He still put Donovan Clingan. He scored 33 points against him or something like that in the championship game. So this is not like this dude's not going to be a complete bust.
No, and the worry for Memphis is always like, oh, Jaren Jackson Jr. is great on defense, but sometimes the offense just doesn't show up. And it's like Zach Edey's the type of player where it's like, it's not like some nights he's going to be off. Like his stuff is like super consistent, as a lot of centers are. So it's like, you know, he's always going to be dunking, and like he can hit a lot of
those little hook shots.
And like, a lot of his shots are easier than a lot of the shots that like Jaren Jackson Jr. has to take. So I feel like it's pretty nice because it's like, you know, he can learn the defense. Memphis has great team defense, and even if he's just a big guy that makes it kind of hard to shoot over, that's good. The only thing is if he's an absolute turnstile on defense, that's pretty bad for them. Yeah. But again, they have James Jackson Jr. lurking behind him, so it's not
even that awful. And I mean, he's a complete mismatch. He's going to take advantage of. This is not Rudy Gobert. He's going to take advantage of if there's a smaller guy on him and score. Like he's done that throughout his entire college career. There's not going to be many guys that are bigger than him at 7'4", so if any.
And you can't put a small guy in Jaren either because, you know, he'll just drive in or shoot over him. So
he'll take advantage of him. It's a good pick.
My next one is, funnily enough, the exact next pick. I really, really like Cody Williams. And I think it's pretty perfect for the Utah Jazz because he's kind of raw. He's kind of skinny, but he's got the like wingspan and the height that you'd want from kind of like a wing player like that. And he can fill out if you give him a few years and are patient with him, which Utah can afford to do. But, you know, he's nothing crazy on offense with shooting. Like, he can shoot, but it's not like he's an amazing shooter. But he's very versatile on defense. He can pretty much guard anybody. That's not like a huge bruiser because he's kind of skinny. But if he bulks up, he could maybe even guard those guys. He had some weird like free throw percentage stuff in college, but his 3-point was, you know, pretty reliable. He just looks pretty raw as a young guy. So, you know, Jazz should be patient, give him a few years, and I think he could really pan out pretty well.
Yeah, I don't hate Cody.
And then I think my last one is Deron Holmes to the Denver Nuggets. I really like that trade for the Nuggets. They traded pretty much all the picks they had that year for and like a couple seconds to get Deron, but I think they really, really struggled without a backup center, and like DeAndre Jordan is not cutting it anymore. That dude is old as shit.
Yeah, he's washed.
He really should not play, especially in the playoffs. So this gives you someone that can back up Jokic. He can play power forward too, so, you know, give Jokic some rest and then put him back on. Aaron Gordon needs some rest. You can just leave Deron on. And he really fits well into that Denver offense. He's a good screener. He's a good cutter. He's good at getting open. And, you know, when you're playing with Jokic, it's like all you have to really do is make the effort and run around a bunch, and he's good at that. So I think he'll be really good for them. And, of course, defensively, he's great. So I think having the ability to give Jokic a little more rest and not completely fall apart should help the Nuggets. We'll see how the rest of their offseason goes because I think they have some bigger problems, like losing KCP. I don't know what they're going to do about that. But this should help address the backup center problem for them at least. I'm not anticipating as good of a rookie season, but like kind of like a Derek Lively rookie thing where you can come in and immediately contribute.
Yeah, as a bench guy.
So, and I think that's...
but not a lot of pressure either. I mean, the Nuggets without Jokic were pretty bad last year, so any positive they can add to that.
Yeah, and he shot almost 40% from 3 last year, so...
Yeah, there you go. All right, we're going to wrap up there. Thanks for listening. Let us know who the biggest winners of the drafts are, how the Wizards do, how other teams do.